Welcome to this episode of the Ben and Bryan Show. We are going to go ahead and do the top 10 of the wide receiver rankings for you guys, standard PPR leagues. And I'm your host, Ben. And with me is my co-host,
Bryan.
Bryan. That's the weirdest fucking intro. But let's go ahead and cue the fucking intro. We're going to go ahead and kick it off, starting with number 10. And you go ahead and take it away, Bryan.
My number 10 pick, I'm going to be going with Devante Parker from the Miami Dolphins. The reason why I'm going with him, and I know I'm a homer for when it comes to Dolphin players, but last year I think he really had a shining year, and I only look to him for him getting better this season. We're going to have either Ryan Fitzpatrick or Tua Tagovailoa fucking throwing the ball to him. I think he's going to be definitely a lot better this season, and that's my pick.
Will he break out? Because last season was his first breakout season.
Yeah, I know. And I think he also, just because like with him and the Michael Thomas fucking going back and forth over on Twitter or whatever a few weeks ago, I think that's going to light a fire under his ass because, like, he was kind of known for, like, being a unreliable player and injury-prone. But I think with him getting a new contract and them, like, having more confidence in him, I think they're going to develop a lot more plays for him. Plus Chan Gailey coming in, that's going to probably help him out a lot too. So I think it's going to be a different season. I'm not going to say he's going to be fucking phenomenal or whatever every single week, but he'll be at least a top 10 fantasy receiver because really we don't really have that many standouts other than Grant and fucking Wilson. And then you got Mike Gesicki at tight end. So, I mean, it just all varies. But I think he's going to have a pretty good season this year.
All right. So we'll go ahead and go with my number 10. And my number 10 is coming back with a vengeance, and that is A.J. Green, Cincinnati. I picked A.J. Green to be breaking the top 10. You know, we haven't heard a whole lot from him in the offseason, so it seems like he's going to stay there. He doesn't really want out. Maybe he thinks that now that they drafted Joe Burrow number 1 overall, there's going to be little changing of the seasons over there. Maybe it might light a fire in his ass because otherwise the guy's always a top 10 receiver. He's always great. And just because his last year's foot, and maybe he was sitting out because they're just having a terrible year for the, extended period because
no sense in getting injured when you're not really it's for nothing,
Exactly. You're not making a run for the divisional champs. You're not running for the playoffs. You might as well not get injured. Yep, exactly. So that's who I got number 10.
Good pick. So that's a sleeper pick, really, because not very many people are expecting a whole lot of A.J. Green just because based off of last year and him coming off an injury. If any player can turn it around, it's definitely him. If he can stay healthy, for fuck's sakes, that kid can play. So,
Exactly. That's a good point. It is a great sleeper pick, and that's kind of why I chose him because he's just a phenomenal receiver. He always has been.
I agree. So, all right. So I'm gonna move on to number 9, and I'm gonna pick Odell Beckham Jr. I think out of him and Jarvis Landry, I think he has the slight edge over Jarvis. Jarvis is more of a chain mover, and Odell Beckham can score you the points. So I think they're going to use Jarvis Landry a lot more in the slot position. Well, I mean, he is a slot receiver, but I think they're going to use him a lot more just for moving the chains. And I think Baker Mayfield's going to finally figure out how to play football this year. Although I've shot myself in the foot numerous times. I mean, they could be more of a run heavy team this year with having Hunt there now and Chubb. That's a 2-headed monster right there, but that's running backs. But I honestly think that Odell Beckham Jr. This is kind of like a do or die type season. I don't see him being back with the Browns next season if he doesn't have a good year. I think he'll end up leaving, or they'll trade him or something. And if he has a shitty season this year, they'll probably trade him mid-season. I mean, you never know. So, but yeah, that's what I'm going to go.
See, the reason why I don't have Odell Beckham top 10 or Jarvis Landry, don't get me wrong, they are number one receivers on any team. They're great receivers. But the reason why I don't have them is because Baker Mayfield. I have no faith in that guy. The guy just as inconsistent as hell. He needs to bring it together before I start really kind of valuing the Browns more.
And you notice too when Baker started having really shitty games, they stopped putting his commercials on TV as often. So that's kind of a nice thing. You don't have to see those damn, what are they, State Farm commercials or whatever the fuck they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fucking. That was only benefit of him sucking.
All right, so we'll go with my number 9, and my number 9's also another leap, and it is Courtland Sutton from the Denver Broncos. He started sparking at the end of the season last season, well, towards the second half. He's doing pretty well. I think him and Locke will continue with their chemistry moving on to this season. Even with the addition of Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, I think Courtland Sutton still will be the number one receiver there throughout this year anyways. The rest could break out more. Was that?
They'll probably start double teaming Jerry Jeudy, and he'll be open a lot more, and vice versa. So,
yeah. We'll see. But, yeah, I think Jerry Jeudy will end up being a great receiver in the long run.
I agree.
But for now, this year, I think I'm going to give the edge to Courtland Sutton just because he's got the experience under his belt already of a year, and Jeudy needs that. And, yeah, that's why he's number 9. So go ahead with yours.
Okay. Number 8, I'm going to go with Mike Evans. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's like a top 5 receiver because Tom Brady's coming to town, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I think Tom Brady as his quarterback is going to be a lot more of a downfall for him because Brady doesn't have the arm to really get him the ball unless it's 5-yard slants, and then he runs after the catch or whatever. But I don't expect him to have a whole lot of touchdowns this year, but I think he'll at least, have at least maybe 5 or 6 touchdowns this season, and under 1,000 yards receiving, to be honest with you. But he's still, better than Devante and OBJ. So,
see, I got Evans out only because the fact that they've got Goblin, who had a breakout season last season. I mean, he was good the year before too, but phenomenal season last season. And then now they're adding Gronk. I mean, I don't think Gronk's not going to be like spectacularly back into his old form, but he's still going to get more targets that's going to draw away from Mike Evans. So
Sure.
that's why I don't have him in the top 10.
Makes sense.
So my number 8, I'm going to go with somebody you probably don't have in your top 10, but I am also going to go with, Stephon Diggs for Buffalo. I think because of the fact that was really the missing thing that they needed in Buffalo was a true number one receiver to put them over the hump. I mean, obviously they went to got second in the division, but this will take them even further, further into the playoffs. They'll excel.
I don't have him on my list, and on the list that I was looking at online, they have him as the number 27 receiver on the fantasy board. So, I mean, I think it's nothing against him. It's the fact that Josh Allen cannot throw the long ball consistently, and he's a deep ball receiver. So, I mean, it's just he's going to have to work on those accuracy skills in order for him to get those numbers up. So that's the only thing that's going to be dogging on Diggs. So
yeah, but I think that he's really just going to be the main target, so that's why he's going to jump up to the top 10.
Or he'll be double teamed and they'll drop his numbers even more though.
I doubt it because he was kind of double teamed in Minnesota too, anyways. All right, you go ahead.
But he had your boyfriend Kirk Cousins thrown to him, though.
But they also had Adam Thielen. And Dalvin Cook had a breakout season.
True.
Next, got anything else there, Pally?
No. Well, speaking of Adam Thielen, he is my number 7. I think with Diggs being gone, I think that definitely ramps up his numbers and his total touchdowns this season. They'll probably be double teaming him a lot, but he's also going to be able to catch a lot more balls too. And he had a really good season last year too, even with Diggs there. So I think he's obviously going to be the number 1 receiver, and I think he's going to have quite a few touchdowns this season under that new scheme of things.
All right. Yeah, so I agree with you. And my number 7 is also Adam Thielen. I think he's going to be better than his old partner in the wide receiver of the Minnesota. For years straight, Adam Thielen was a ball catching machine, and he was one of the top receivers for years. He had I don't even know how many multiple 1,000-yard seasons that guy had. It was a lot.
Well, I know, when I had him on my fantasy team 3 years ago, I ended up winning my championship based on the last few weeks of him playing. So he's definitely legit. He's good.
Yeah. So I'm definitely gonna bring him back in the top 10. He's definitely a top 10 receiver. He's gonna get more of the looks. So yes, definitely number 7.
Okay, so number 6, this is going to be kind of like a head scratcher probably for you because he's nowhere. He's I think he was ranked 25th or whatever on the fantasy boards list online or whatever. But because he's got a new quarterback now coming in, a veteran quarterback, and a beefed up offensive line, and he's coming back healthy, I'm going to put T.Y. Hilton at number 6 for the Colts. He's always been a clutch receiver for me, when it comes to fantasy. He's always gotten me decent points when it comes to PPR or whatever, standard league, whatever you want to run. He's always come up clutch. He's always been a decent receiver. So, and him having Phillip Rivers now, that's just adding more catches to his resume. So, I think I look for him to have a really good season this year under that scheme. And like I said, we both agree the Colts are going to look really tough. They're going to be very tough to beat this season.
Yeah, I mean, T.Y. Hilton was 57th actually last season in PPR rankings. But I do see your point. I don't have him in my top 10, but I do see your point. He does have a much better quarterback thrown at him in Phillip Rivers versus Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett ain't bad, but Phillip Rivers is good.
Yeah, Rivers is, like he can sling it for like, 1,000 yards or whatever, 500 yards or whatever, and and still lose the game or whatever. 5 touchdowns and still lose the game. But a lot of that had to do with him being on the Chargers was, offensive line not doing their assignments and stuff and causing like offsides or whatever and false starts or whatever. And I just think that he's in a better situation now. He's got a really good offensive line that's going to be there to protect him, a beefed up defense, and really good wide receiver. So I think they're going to have a really consistent year this year for the Colts.
Yeah, I think if T.Y. has as many touchdowns as Philip Rivers has kids, that's a good season.
What is he up to, 10 now? Something like that?
I don't know. It's pretty close.
God damn, dude.
Oh.
For once. Jesus.
Trying
to start his own football league.
Something he still hasn't believed in is protection. He haven't had it in L.A., and he don't have it on his dick.
Okay, so did you do your number 6?
No. All right, so my number 6, jokes aside, I have Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay was in the top 10 last season, and that was without Matt Stafford. And Matty Stafford's back. I know he had a back injury. Sometimes those are hard to come back from. But I still see his production going up. He's going to get a lot of targets out of Matty Stafford, and that's why I got him 6th. I mean, it's a little bit of a drop from what he was last season, and I only kind of did it because I'm not 100% sure that Stafford's coming back in true old form, but regardless, he's probably still be really good.
Do you see the Lions going more run heavy this season and not depending so much on Matt Stafford to sling the ball like he did a few years ago? Because with his back injury, because he ain't going to be able to throw as accurately and with the same power with the back injury. Because when your back goes out, it is hard to recover. It takes years for it to recover to go back to somewhat normalcy.
I could possibly see that, but
because they just drafted what's his face from Georgia, the running back. Having a brain. No, I didn't. I can't remember his name. Swift, Devante Swift.
DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift. Yeah, and he's a decent running back. So I think they're going to probably give him the ball a lot and just run him. Hopefully, he'll stay healthy and stuff.
Sure go. So number 5.
I know. I didn't know if you were looking something up. So, all right. So number 5, I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill. They had him projected at number 4 on the Pro Football Focus or whatever online. I'm bumping him down to 5 just because he's had a lot of off-field issues over the last few years, and it just seems like you're coming off of a Super Bowl win, which was hand-wrapped, gifted to you by the refs, and I just don't see him having the same kind of production that he did last year. Yeah, he's fast. They're probably going to use him a lot more on special teams, which will probably end up costing him getting injured or something stupid like that, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would you use your top receiver in that circumstance for special teams? But I just think he's not going to have as many receptions, and knowing the way the NFL is nowadays, I don't project him to be playing a full season just because he'll probably get suspended for something stupid that he does later on this year.
See, I don't even have him in the top 10, and I know it's going to be a shocker to a lot of people. Like, why? He's so fast. Yes, he is fast. But they're just teams. I guess it is kind of hard to scheme against all the weapons they have with Kelsey and Hill. But I feel if they double team Hill, I think his production will go down. He'll see less targets. I think the fact that they picked up Clyde the Glad, as I call him, the LSU prodigy,
Yeah, he's
I think
bad.
he's going to get a lot of touches, and I think he's going to do really good. Even though I don't have him on top 10 running backs, but I could see him possibly getting up there pretty close.
Probably like a offensive rookie of the year candidate almost.
I could see him. I mean, he's set up. He's got. I mean, the reigning Super Bowl champs. He's got set up to a good team. They got a great quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. There's no denying that. He's going to be having, obviously, going to be on his rookie contract for a while, so they can afford to keep him around, even though they're going to end up paying old Patty Mahomes a huge chunk of change. And I foresee the Chiefs on a downward spiral because they won't be able to afford anybody else because they still have to keep their defense around, right?
Yeah.
So that leaves me to my number 5, and I have Chris Goblin from Tampa Bay. Godwin had a great year last year. He was second in the PPR rankings. I only have him drop down to 5th, also for the fact that I touched base on this earlier, why Mike Evans was out, because now that they have Gronk in there, he's going to take some targets. I mean, like I said, he's not going to be old form, great Gronk, But, if he catches 20 to 30 receptions, that's 20 to 30 targets pulled away from Godwin, pulled away from Evans. So that's the only reason why I haven't done that. He's still a great receiver, though. Don't get me wrong.
Well, I agree. So I'm going to go with number 4, DeAndre Hopkins. Only reason why I have him at number 4 is because, he's going from a team that he's been with his whole entire career and a quarterback in a system that he's always followed every season for the last so many seasons to a new system. It's going to be that, what is it, air raid system or whatever down there for the Cardinals. Different quarterback. I'm not saying Kyler Murray can't sling it and get him the ball. I just don't think he has the same type of accuracy that Watson has down for the Texans or whatever. So I just think his numbers are going to fall off a little bit. Plus, he has Larry Fitzgerald there too. I think Larry Fitzgerald is actually going to get a lot more catches this season with having Hopkins there, because they're going to be double teaming Hopkins. You have to. You're stupid if you don't. So I think Larry's number is going to go up. I mean, he ain't top 10, but his numbers will go up this season. But Hopkins will still have a fairly decent year, just because he's in a new situation. It's going to be harder for him to learn the system. So next year, if he's kind of struggled this year, I think he'll be better next year, to be honest with you. So he'll probably go to like number 3 or 4, or 3 to 2 next season. So
My number 4 is Cooper Kupp from the Rams. The reason why I have him 4, he's usually a top 10 receiver. But there's a huge downfall in LA on the Rams side. A lot of key players gone. Todd Gurley, the main one, the workhorse running back, is on his way out. They're going to have to rely on the passing more. I don't think they really addressed the running back situation too well.
no.
But they still have Robert Woods, who's good. But Brandon Cooks is gone. He's in Houston. So I just see the production going up much more for Cooper Kupp. But the fact that the Rams are on a downfall, I dropped him. Actually, I think he was 4th last year, so I think I kept him the same. So I think I'll keep him the
same. Okay. So for my number 3, I'm going with Julio Jones. He's always, one of the top guys every single season. He's only going to get better this year with Cooper leaving, going to the Browns. So that's going to give him a lot more looks for Matty Ice. So I just think that Jones should have a pretty decent year. I think he's probably going to be at least a top 2 receiver this year in fantasy. But I got him at number 3 just because of the other 2 that I have on my list. So
Yeah. I got the same thing. Number 3, you got Julio. Reason, yeah. Pretty much what you said. Hooper's out the door. He's going to see more targets. Julio's great. He's consistently a top receiver. Very clutch. Very tough. But yeah, I got him. I only have him 3rd because of the other 2 that I have up above him. But Julio's consistently a great receiver, and you cannot not have that guy at least in your top 5. If you're not, you're crazy.
Oh, exactly. 100% agree with you there, man. So, you got any more with that? Okay.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is Devante Adams, and the reason why I have him at number 2 is because who else is there in Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers to throw to? I think he's going to be the clutch player that Rodgers is going to look for this season, and I think that he'll definitely get the numbers this year, and he's going to definitely get quite a few touchdowns. It's going to be, it'll be a different season this year. I think the Packers are going to struggle this year, to be honest with you. So I just see him, being pretty much their main target, and he can catch anything that they throw towards him. So you can't doubt him. So.
See, I disagree. I don't even have him in my top 10 at all. Devante Adams, yeah, he is pretty good and all, but like you said, he's the only one there. He was the only one there last year, and he was 23rd, even with A-Rod thrown to him. I just don't see him making a leap. They basically have the same offense.
On the Pro Fantasy Focus that I got this list from, they had him at number 2 on their list too. So.
Projected?
Yeah.
Then they're dumb. No, I'm sorry. I can't. I won't say that.
Oh, yeah, by the way, to your buddy that's a 49ers fan, go fuck yourself, homo.
He wasn't my buddy.
Oh. Come on with us and fucking tell us how informative you are, moron.
Yeah, give us all the depth charts, buddy. Let's see if you can name everybody on that team.
Top of your head when you're live and not fucking looking up at a fucking computer the whole fucking time.
The rest of the people watching this like, what the fuck are they talking about? We're just talking shit about this guy who's in this group that talk shit on our video. We had to address it. We can't let bad comments go without shit talking back because that's what we do. We shit talk.
Take those shits.
Shit talk. Okay, so my number 2 is much, 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 much better of a number 2 than yours. Normally, I'd have him number 1. He is can't guard Michael Thomas.
Oh.
He is 2nd. The reason why I have him 2nd, really, I mean, they got Emmanuel Sanders there. And Emmanuel Sanders is the number 1 receiver anywhere else. So he's going to draw more receptions his way. When Michael Thomas is getting double and triple team, even though he still would catch it anyways, they still have Emmanuel Sanders who could just who's probably won't even be guarded because everybody's going to be on Michael Thomas. Just kidding. It'll be funny. But, yeah, so I think Emmanuel Sanders draws away the number of targets he had. He had a huge amount of targets last season and a huge amount of receptions as he broke the record with the receptions. Michael Thomas, I always have considered him a badass receiver, as do everybody else. And I just only have him number 2 because of that. Emmanuel just takes away his targets.
Yeah, I have for my number 1 is can't guard Mike Thomas myself. And I was thinking a lot about it just because over the course of the last few weeks or whatever with the whole Drew Brees freaking drama thing, whatever, like, will Drew Brees start this season? Will he be like that main quarterback, or are they going to continually switch him out, between Hill and Winston? Are they going to like continue to keep pushing him in and out of the game because he likes to get the ball to Thomas the most out of any other receiver. So, and the other ones are pretty much, well, I don't know how Winston's going to do, but Hill is a run first, throw second type.
Well, they switched him up more because Brees was injured for like 5 games. That's why Teddy Two Gloves was starting.
They started doing that last or 2 years ago before he got injured. That's why
they'd cycle him a little bit with Taysom Hill, but
and that would suck because like I had him drafted as my number 1 quarterback, and I would start him, and I'd get like 9 to 12 points, and I'm like, what the fuck? And Hill would get like 30 because he was running touchdowns in or throwing touchdowns or whatever, and it's like. If I would have known that, that was on my part because I didn't do the research and realize that they had a badass backup quarterback that they utilized a lot in the game. So that was on me. That ain't anything that they did anything wrong. But that's my only thing. Like, if they leave Drew Brees in there a lot more, Michael Thomas is going to get a lot more receptions. I don't care if they do double team him. I don't see Emmanuel Sanders taking a whole lot away from him just because it's can't guard Mike. He wants the ball, and he's that kind of player. Emmanuel Sanders might be used as a decoy more often than not. So that's just the reason why I have him at number 1, and I think he's going to get a lot more catches this year.
Okay, that's understandable. It's hard to argue against Mike Thomas being number 1. I would. But my number 1 is who you got down below for some odd reason. I think it's because you said he's in a new system and blah, blah, blah. But I have DeAndre Hopkins number 1 because it's DeAndre Hopkins. He's always a top 10 receiver. I don't care where he goes. That dude's always – yes, Kyler Murray's not as accurate as Deshaun Watson. But you just throw it in the vicinity of fucking 10 to 15 yards of DeAndre Hopkins, that dude is catching it.
Well, I 100% agree with you, but the only reason why is because Kyler Murray's accuracy and his injuriness or whatever, injury proneness. I really can't call him injury prone because he didn't make it at the end of the season. He got hurt towards the end of the season, so I don't know. If he can hold up his durability throughout the season, then I could see them having a lot better season, but. I just don't know. Like, he's so little.
He stayed pretty durable. Granted, they didn't really address much of the O-line because he fucking took 28 sacks. But I think the fact that –
49ers defense fucked him up.
Oh, yeah, the 49ers. Yeah,
they killed him last year, man.
I think, if he just breaks away just for a couple seconds – he's getting bum rushed and just throws it in the vicinity of DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to catch it. The fact that it's an air raid offense says that they're just going to be pass heavy. They didn't even fucking hide the fact that that's what they wanted to do. They were very vocal about it, and I think they added a great weapon to do it. Now, just because I have him number 1 does not mean that Arizona is going to do very well in the division, only because – I'll be a homer on this one and say San Francisco's taking it.
They'll be 3rd in the division. Rams are going to be last.
Seattle somehow is always in the fucking conversation. No matter how depleted their team gets, they're always in the fucking conversation because Russ Wilson just keeps them alive, I guess.
He's a good quarterback. I know you hate him. Well, you don't really hate him. You just hate the team and the fans. But Russell Wilson, he's been a decent quarterback for many years. Can't dog on him too much.
Yeah, I can't dog. He's really genuinely a good guy on and off the field. Yeah, but I hate the fucking Seahawks. It's in my blood now.
Which is weird because it used to always be the Cowboys were the team that you just couldn't stand. You despised them. You wanted them just to be dead last every year.
Oh, I still hate the Cowboys, and I still want them to be dead last. I'll always hate them too. All right, so that is our top 10 PPR rankings for receivers. Of course, if you guys have a different opinion, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Be sure to like and share our video. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to our channel. the Ben and Bryan Show. And we will be coming at you next with the top 10 tight ends. Until next time, peace.
Peace.